Hello and welcome to Sheila Lives Out Loud. My name is Sheila Wanjiku. I'm thrilled you're on this channel. As always, please click subscribe and hit notifications and catch up with us every Monday for a new upload. And in this COVID season, we're all doing our best to stay sane, to stay safe, and to be informed, to talk about the things that are happening around our new normal, and to also address the problems and the areas of concern as and when they arise. And in this episode, we're going to train our focus on the family. We're going to be looking at teen pregnancies. We'll be looking at friction and relationships that have been strained in this season, especially between parents and children. And joining me for this conversation is Violet Wanjiku. Violet, it's been so wonderful walking this journey of life with you. You're a friend, you're a confidant, and every day I learn something from you. Anytime I interact with you, it's always not just good times, but also learning times. And in this season, I think it's very important that we train our focus to what's happening with teen pregnancies and tension in the home place. But first things first, how are you doing?
Thank you, Sheila. I'm doing well, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you and to just discuss issues and to just walk the journey of life with you as a friend. I appreciate that, and I really honor you as someone close to me.
Thank you so much for making the time to speak with me. I know you've got a lot of things that you need to attend to today, but very quickly, in the season, schools are closed until next year. And parents in March thought children would be back to school in second term. But clearly, our new normal is such that everything that we know has been changed, has been disrupted, and schooling is top on that list. So, what is it? What's happening? Why is there so much tension at home right now?
I think one of the reasons why there's so much friction and tension at home is that as parents, we have been used to someone else taking care of our children. A school is there 9 months in a year, and so we know we have children at home 3 months in a year, and we can cope with that. That has been our old norm. And at any one time, we were never we never envisaged a time that our children would be at home doing nothing, and us being responsible. And at one point, you remember during the early COVID season, we were basically at home, all of us. And that has caught us off guard because as parents, the way we have been trained is we get out of the house and we leave someone else responsible for for taking care of our children. And our role as parents has just been mainly to provide, but not to take care. And that's why in the Kenyan context, each family has a nanny or a help that watches over the children. And if it's not the nanny, then school comes in, the teachers come in, and the children leave early in the morning, and they come home late in the evening with homework, then they sleep. So I think one of the reasons that has brought a lot of friction in the family is that we have too much time that we hadn't planned for. No one planned for COVID. No one planned that children would be at home for close to 9 months in 2020. And that has thrown a lot of people off balance. The other thing is that we have really, as the people that work, because we go out every time. If we remember what our parents used to do, most of the times our parents used to interact with us as they are doing work. Maybe you find one parent, maybe the man was the one who was working and the mother was the housewife. So she would interact with the children on a day-to-day basis. Now we find, because of the change in the society, most people find that both parents are working, and so the interaction with the children is very little. And it's usually like a touch and go situation. So we are finding ourselves in a place that we actually do not know our children. Now, maybe a question we can just ask: how many parents know the temperaments of their children? Maybe a few, a lot, but many of us have not had time to take time to sit and study what makes our children tick. Now, if you ask someone who is maybe like the parents who brought up their children in the generation of the 70s and 80s, they knew their children, they knew what their dislikes were, and they would be able to tell you that one, he doesn't like working, he doesn't like doing housework. That one, you can always trust that they'll always watch out for their siblings. That you hear that a lot from our parents. They knew us, they knew our temperament because they spent time with us. So you're finding in this generation, a lot of parents, the time they have is limited. And so the only thing they need to do is, I can't afford learning them. I only need to love them. And love means I take them out on a Sunday. I take them out. I bring them a PlayStation. I do all those things. So that is what we are suffering now.
I like what you've just said because it speaks to the truth of parenting in today's age. Parents are spending a lot of time in the office, and the only time you get to interact with your children is over the weekend. And over the weekend, you've probably picked everybody up from the house and gone to church. So in church, you're not talking to each other, you're listening, or maybe children are in Sunday school. And then after that, you've gone to wash the car where there's a little nyamachoma or something is happening. There's no conversation of finding out in this past week, what was your child up to? What did they experience? Were they upset about certain things? I know parents who find out that their children are being bullied months after the event, and it's simply because there isn't that honest interaction of one-to-one with each other outside of distractions. But now COVID has changed everything. People are now working in the house. Children have to take their lessons in the house. And what we used to do for fun on a Saturday or on a Sunday, we can't do anymore. And we're beginning to understand that our little Jadens that we thought were so perfect are anything but. So what happens next in a situation like this, Violet, for a parent who's got a teenager, who's got a little child, who they just can't seem to get through to? What do you do?
Now, one of the things that we will appreciate is that if you have a teenager in the house and you've not spent much time with them during their growing season, like from age 1 to 12, then you really do not know your child. And you're dealing with someone who already has a formed mind, because you find that in matters parenting, the first 7 years are very important because that's the time you have authority. You might not have a lot of influence because you find you have more influence, but you have authority. And the reason why God gives us authority in that season is because it's a formative years. Whatever you teach in the first 7 years of their lifetime sticks. Now, one of the things that we need to appreciate is that the teen years are the years that children push boundaries. They want to see whatever I was taught in my younger years, is it still applicable? So you find that it's a time they are finding themselves, they're finding, oh, I have this mind, and my mind has really grown, and I can understand things, but I also have been told to do 1, 2, 3. Can I push to see whether it is still as mom or dad had said it's supposed to be? So you find the disadvantage that a lot of parents who have not taken time to grow, to discipline, to bring up their children when they were younger, and they are now faced with teenage children in the house, is that one, they are dealing with a child who they do not know because they do not know what makes their children tick. Two, their values, they actually are not confident that the values they believe in are the values that their children have because of that lack of spending time, because some of those things are only learned by spending time with the child. And so what happens is you come, and as a parent, you find this teen, you're struggling. You do not know what is their best way of communicating. And so if your child is the quiet type and you just speak and speak and speak, you will never know whether you're communicating. If your child is a strong-willed one, you will never know whether them asking a question is their way of communicating. And so you find that conflict will come because you will ask a teen something and they say, why? And they're just asking why so that they understand the rationale behind why you're saying what you're asking. And as a parent, when we are asked the question why, we think our authority is being questioned. And so we hit the roof and communication goes to zero because you haven't answered, and you haven't answered as a parent, and the teen has realized that mom or dad is not willing to have a conversation with me. So for me, I think and I'm speaking to parents who have younger children, start early, start at the age of 1. And you remember, Sheila, the last time we had a conversation, we said, start with the end in mind. What is it? What kind of a child do you want to bring up? If you want to bring up a child that values honesty, then start instilling honesty in them as a 1-year-old. And let truth be a value that you're going to instill throughout, because you can only see it at the end when the fruit comes. Just like the way a tree bears fruit after it's grown and grown and grown. We only get mangoes after maybe 5 years of a tree growing and growing, but we are still giving it fertilizer and taking care of it and keeping out the pesticides and the pests and the insects that will make it not bear fruit. It's the same way with our parents. We have to invest in them when they are younger. That doesn't mean that it's all lost. It means that as a teenager, you have had a harder job to do because you're speaking to someone who already has a mindset of their own and you're trying to change. Now, the goodness with that is God has given us, as your authority goes decreasing, your influence goes increasing. And that's why, Sheila, today, if you want to ask something, you will go to your mom and say, what do you think of this? And whatever she says, you will take it and think about it and use it to make a decision because she has influence. Right. So we should work on using our influence because we are losing authority. We work on using our influence to make sure that we change behavior.
Fantastic. What I'm picking up from you is, as a parent, there are 2 tools at your disposal. There's authority and there's influence. And each one has its season. And you've got to be sensitive to the season. Otherwise, you will be playing catch up and there will be things happening in your household and you'll keep throwing your hands up in the air and asking why. But it's simply because you're not being sensitive to the tool that you must be using at a specific time and phase. Yes. But I'm thinking of conversations and the situation on the ground now. We're seeing soaring teenage pregnancies. We're seeing cases where even ministry officials have said the reason why these teen pregnancies are on the rise is because of pornography. And we've really got to be honest and say, can we stop trying to shift blame to things like pornography? Because there are far bigger reasons why these teen pregnancies are happening. I remember seeing, I think it was a news clip where a man was interviewed and he said, at what time do these children get up to these things? The children are at home at night. Now, we can talk about rape. We can talk about terrible things that happen to children and minors behind closed doors. But then there's an even bigger problem that's happening right during the day. Children are experimenting. Teens are experimenting. There's the cool factor that surrounds engaging in sex before your time for the youth. As a parent today, how do we navigate these waters?
Thanks for that question. One of the things that we need to understand is our children are living in a society that we never experienced when we are living in. And that society that we are living in has things that are really against our children. One is that now we are in the era of post-truth. People are talking about, it's my truth. I'm sure you've heard it. It's my truth. And I look at it the way I want it to be. So that is where the space that our children are growing up in. We are also experiencing a society that accountability has stopped being what it was. I can do anything, but I am not held to account. Children are picking the vibe that, you know what, I can do anything I want. There's nothing that anyone can do. And it starts, unfortunately, it starts from everywhere. It starts from the leadership. It starts from the church. It starts from everywhere. You're seeing people not being held to account. our children are hearing and they are seeing. So it's going to be very hard for us to tell our children, oh, this is the truth, but we ourselves are not able to keep the truth. And also, coupled with that, we are seeing the moral fabric of the society going down and down and down. And it's unfortunate that we parents expect our children to be morally upright, and many of us, that went under a long time ago. So the things that are affecting our children, that is the situation that they are growing in, the society they are growing in, a permissive society, a society that is saying you can do anything as long as it feels right to you. But unfortunately, we are not telling our children whatever feels right to you, unfortunately, comes with consequences. So we are very busy saying that you can be anything you want, you can do anything you want, but we are forgetting to tell our children everything, every action you take has a consequence to it. Now, the other thing is that there's a lot of lack of information. And what do I mean with this? A lot of people think there's a lot of sex education available there, but unfortunately, it has been proven time and time again that when it comes to matters moral issues and matters sex, parents have been given that responsibility by the author of life to be able to teach. Unfortunately, we think the school is the one that is going to teach it, but school doesn't teach it with the authority that a parent has. So we expect our children are gathering information, but what are they gathering? Is it true? Is it the right thing? Are they being taught about being accountable? Are they being taught about being responsible? So we keep on saying, all the media, all society, but the media will teach what benefits them. And that's why you find TV, a girl meets a boy, and to express love, sex has to happen. But no one tells the children that when it happens in real life, then you find STDs, pregnancies, and all those, and a broken heart, and all that. No one tells our children that. So that means that our children are getting information that is half true. Because yes, they are getting the information, they are seeing the videos, they are seeing pornography, but no one is telling them, hey, this is not the full truth. And that responsibility lies squarely with the parents. It is the parents that are going to tell their children, listen, when you go there and have sex, when you walk away, a part of you is left with that boy, and you will never be able to set yourself apart from that boy because you keep on remembering what you had, and you feel like you've lost a bit of yourself to that boy. And unfortunately, parents are not telling the children like that, because we also as parents are not very real. We never want our children to know the truth of our experiences. And I believe if we shared our experiences a lot more with our children, then our children would find the real thing and want to live a different experience from us.
Therein lies the irony of the times that we're living in. We are busy pushing and calling for everyone to live their truth, to speak their truth. Yet, as parents, for starters, you cannot even be honest with your children to talk about your own sexuality because you are a sexual being. We are still shrouding matters, sexuality under bad manners, or go talk to someone else, or good girls or good boys don't talk about this. Yet, in this age of truth, there are certain truths that we're not being honest with our children about. And just listening to everything that you have unpacked as well, we have outsourced the raising and the educating of children to one system and one system only. Yet that one system, it barely does enough to churn out well-rounded individuals, because we already know we've got a system that's training people to cram things and just answer questions as opposed to understand things. And life is about understanding. When you send a teenage child out, without understanding of why she must guard her body, of why a teenage boy must guard his body, if they don't understand it, sex is brought down to such a no issue. It's a no nothing in this age of truth. Yet sex is everything. It's union. It's teenage pregnancies. It's children. It's STDs. It's quite literally life or death. I feel so very passionately about this, and we could talk about this until the cows come home. But your closing thoughts, I don't believe we should be apportioning blame and saying this is the reason why children are getting pregnant. Border guys, these guys, those guys, the pornography, the education. I think it all boils down to enough with trying to shift blame. How do we as a society begin to fix things? What do we do to take care of our young ones?
Okay. I think one of the things that we need to agree is that there's a reason why God puts children under the responsibility of parents for 18 years. There's a reason why our children are not just born and they wake up immediately they're born and in an hour they are running up and down like calves. It's because God intended us, and I'll say I don't apologize about you referring to God, because He is the author of life, and He's the one who gives us what we need to do for our children. It's God intended us to take care of them in all aspects of their life, provide for them, teach them, discipline them, and guide them in life. That is a responsibility of parents. Now, we as parents and the Kenyan society, we have to stop putting blame on someone else. We can't afford to be absentee parents and we think that the help is the one who is going to make our children behave. We cannot afford not to talk to our children and think that school is going to teach them. School is going to teach them anatomy. It's never going to teach them about values. We cannot afford as a society to live such a reckless and immoral way and expect that our children will not pick up from us, learn. Love is learned. Everything is learned. So if we are not able to teach them ourselves by the way we model behavior, by the way we bring them up, by the things that we talk to them about, we cannot expect someone else to take it up. And you know, the most unfortunate thing, we keep on saying like that, but each parent faces their reality, one parent at a time. When your child gets pregnant because they've been engaging in sex, and it could even be at home. By the way, Sheila, are you aware that a lot of sex happens inside our homes and inside the estates that we live in? If we are the ones who are going to face that reality, and the minute we face that reality, the world never stops to tell us, oh, let's pick up this child because it was our responsibility. You end up picking the child alone. You walk the journey of restoring that child's mental and physical and just their health back. And you might never be able to do that because they might have gone too far. That becomes your responsibility as an individual parent. So what I urge parents to do is stop imagining that the community or the world owes you to bring up your child. God gave you that child alone. And it's your responsibility to bring up that child so that they are able to cope with the world. And there are three areas that children are supposed to cope with. Their personal life, that is their relationship with God, whoever they perceive God to be, their relationship with their family, their spouse, their siblings, and their relationship with the community, either through the vocation or the job they do, or through the service they render to community. So whether we like it or not, that responsibility hasn't shifted. And it's unfortunate that in this nation, we keep shifting responsibility. We say, oh, the chief should be arrested because girls are getting pregnant. What about the mother of that child? What about the father of that child? Where are they when the chief is being arrested?
Yeah.
So we should start. My advice to the parents is, let's stop chasing everything else. Let's go back and do the role that we have given, the primary role of being a parent. And let's start teaching our children and bringing them up in a way that we see, and at the end of it, we'll be proud of the people that we've brought up. A man is not respected by the kind of money he's made, but he is respected by the kind of a family he has. One last thing is, At the end of our journeys, the only thing that will matter to us is whether our lineage is going to be carried forth. The people that will be carrying our lineage, are they people of character? That's what we need to remember as parents.
This is far bigger than Funga Miguu and all kinds of ridiculous initiatives and news articles that we keep seeing being splashed in the media. Parents take responsibility for the issue of sexuality. As a parent, you are responsible for your child's sexuality and the lessons that they are learning and the values that they are attaching to sexuality, which again is a big circle that comes back to you cannot tell people what to do. You have to live the life that you want your children to live because you're teaching them, not by the things you're telling them to do, but in the way that you're living your life. That's your first. Parents, mko na kazi?
Yes.
You wanted to say something, V?
Yes. As I close, Sheila, I want to say something. One of the books in the Bible that is about love speaks about girls and that are in their puberty. And I was amazed when I saw what the Bible says about that. And it says that it compares two types of girls. It says, if my sister is a wall, then I will build towers of silver upon her. And if my sister is a door, then I'll enclose her with planks of wood. Now, when you look at it, we're being told that you need to understand your child, and especially for parents who have daughters. For your daughter to say no, you need to know whether she's the type that says no naturally, or she's the type that opens the door to each and every person. Mm-hmm. And then you use that to be able to guide her. If she's the type that opens the door to every person, then you make sure that that door is closed either by by confinement or by I don't know how you will do it.
Figure it out.
Yes, figure it out. But you need to figure out. Songs of Songs tells us to figure out our teenage daughters, to see how they behave towards men. And for me, that is a challenge to the mothers, to the fathers. Right. Figure out daughters and know their character. Then you'll be able to handle sex and talk about sexuality in a way that speaks to their heart.
Exactly. There's no shying away from this one. You take responsibility, not just for bringing them to this world, but raising them up and making sure that you're watching out what's going on with their sexuality and their sexual health and understanding of the same. Violet, thank you so much for this moment to just chat about this. This is precious. This is wonderful. I wish you all the very best. The doors are open. I'm sure we'll keep chatting. The year is still young.
Yes.
But thank you very much for catching up with us on this episode of Sheila Lives Out Loud. Please stay safe. Please look out for these young ones in the estate, wherever you see them. If you see something, say something. Don't allow this problem to continue, because it could be your daughter, it could be your son. So look out for the next generation, and let's live our lives in ways that are going to honor God, but most importantly, also going to raise the next generation to do right and be right. So take care of yourself, stay sane and stay safe, and let's catch up and do this again next Monday. Live out loud in all that you do. Bye for now.
Bye.